There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. So you could catch me if I fall.
You asked for it, and here it is. Pat Mcgrath SUNLIT SEDUCTION look number 2. After my first video posting about this palette, I will link it down below so you can check it out. I decided I have to create another look as soon as possible. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for your feedback. I really appreciate it. And let's dive into this tutorial. So before anything, I do have a little bit of my base on my eyelids. And I'm going to use, of course, this Pat Mcgrath INTESIFEYE Longwear Primer. I will be taking this primer on my brush, and this is just a habit. I do tend to always, even if this is just a primer that I'm using for myself, like I do tend to use brushes instead of go directly with this primer. It's just a habit of me working for so long as a makeup artist, and in general, I do believe that the brushes do give you better effect than just sometimes applicator that we do have. I'm not saying applicators can be bad, but in general I do like brushes. Anyways, let's see how this primer will work out today. This is clear primer that you can use just on a bare skin, but I do prefer this one when I have a little bit of my base. In general, I do not use clear primers at all, just on my bare skin. So listen, I do know, again, not going into the whole story about this another pink palette, Divine Rose number, whatever. But this is not all pink palette. This shade right here, this shade right here, they are leaning the most when it comes to, and I swatched this wrong. So these two shades definitely are on a pink side. You can still create versatile looks with it, and that's what I'm trying to achieve with this one. To see how much I can achieve from this palette. Besides creating another pink look. When creating classic smoky eye, I would go with the light shade that is matte, which we don't have in this palette. Instead, I will be using Skin Tense Radiance shade. this one goes right underneath my eyebrow in the center. I'll say this shade looks better when you apply fixing spray on it. On your brush. This is the brush that I'm using, so I'm using flat brush, and I will say this shade looks better once you apply fixing spray on top of it. Anyways, I will continue with the shade Nude Rose with my blending brush. I will take the excess off and apply this underneath my previous shade. And the reason why I applied lighter shade before this one is that then our next shade can be much more blended and easily diffused, rather than just applying darker shade and then having nothing on top. You'll see how transition will end up looking in the end. Also, I can manage to spread this shade that I'm working with right now, right almost touching my eyebrow, you know, so you can go really high with it and not mess it up because you do already have the previous shade underneath. And this is one of the tricks, I would say, that makes makeup easier. This is how it looks like at the moment. Now we'll take smaller blending brush and going in with the Sienna Mystique shade. This one is a bit more neutral and toned down shade, but still it does have a depth, you know, it gives you depth. So I'll say it's fine for what I need today. As you can see, I am starting from the center of my eye and creating a smoky eye, and then I would spread my shade on my right and left of my eye. I'm not too much worried about this right here because this will be covered in the darkest color. So at the moment, the most important thing for me is this transition towards the eyebrow and the edges, of course. To make this job easier, take another clean blending brush if you can, and then just work around the edges. This is another thing that I love to do when creating transitions between the shades. Going in with the same shade, we did diffuse it, so I do want to have each eyeshadow's maximum opacity that I can. See how I can go really high right now? It's because this was really well blended, and now it doesn't mess up my previous shades, even though this is darker color. If you do pay attention to each step that you're doing while you're blending your eyeshadows, you will lessly have issues with the next eyeshadow that you use. Like, all of those small details will make everything easier when it comes to application for you. This is a transition that I have right now. And one really important thing whenever you're doing, I would say, any technique, especially when you're doing smoky eyes, make sure to look straight in the mirror. That way you can see where your latest shade is peeking through. Like, if you went too low with your darker eyeshadow and now we're going to put even darker one, then you'll have too much of a coverage right here. You do want to spread your color equally, so once you look straight, that you can see as much as you can of the color that you're using. Now I want to add a little bit of extreme vermilion dusk, but of course take the excess off my brush, and I want to be really careful when applying this one. This one is really dark. It took me by surprise when I initially tried it in my first video. I was pleasantly surprised how dark this one was, because when I saw this palette online for the first time, I thought, well, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to achieve the depth that I want with this palette, but ended up working just fine. Now, when you are doing this step, be really careful to not go too high with this one, at least not when you're having too many product on your brush. The reason for that is because you will lose everything that you already applied, because this dark color will overtake everything you've done so far. So just keep that in mind. And now, once I am left with, I will say, a little bit of the product on my brush, we will add a highlight underneath the eyebrow later as well, but for now I just need this transition so I can move on with the next step. This is how my transition looks like. Now, two products that I cannot work without are two products from the Inglot. This is MCG liner number 77 and Inglot's Duraline. So I am using not even a small drop of Duraline. I do want to sheer out a little bit this dark intense eyeliner. Why am I doing this right now is I'm not gonna create eyeliner, but I will create base for the Blitz Crimszon Ecstazy, and this shade tends to give issues for a lot of people, and I wanted to give it a full test. I wanted to see what can I do with it, you know? It's a bit harder to apply. You definitely need a technique to apply this type of eyeshadow. That doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, it's just that you need to work your way around it. So right now I'm gonna take another brush, small brush, just to work around the edges. I know at the moment it looks crazy. This will dry really quickly, so I have to be really precise and even this out. This base also will give true opacity to the next eyeshadow we're going to apply. Also, do not forget to apply this into your waterline. That is really important. You do want to close everything around your eye when it comes to color. For now, this is the most that I can achieve when it comes to transition from this eyeliner to my eyeshadow. We'll see later what we're gonna do once I apply star of today's look, which is Blitz Crimszon Ecstazy, and I will need, actually I'll use this with my finger, but before that I'm gonna use NYX glitter primer. As I said in my last video, I do love how this shade performed the best on top of the glitter primer. I'm taking it on my finger actually. Rarely I use my fingers, but in this case, let's just spread this better. Don't want to go too high. If anything, I want to go a little bit less than my black eyeliner. Lower than my eyeliner. I'm going to use my finger for the most part of this shade right here, and this is really foiled. Ooh. I can't look straight, I can't use my finger anymore, and of course it's not working with a brush, but I'll give my best to try to make it work. This is what I've got. This is what I managed to achieve for now. So the next shade I do want to incorporate is Austral Pink Fetish. Just trying to see if I can blend anything more around this edge. I am using it just on the tip of my brush. And this is not gonna work. It feels like a loose glitter just on top of this, so yeah. Instead of it, I'll try to mix these two shades. Just to lift a little bit this area in the middle, so when I look straight that you can still see all the colors. Now I'm taking Astral Peak Fetish and I am using a little bit of fixing spray. The thing is, I'll put this in my inner corner. The thing is, I'm not overly happy how these shades, special shades, apply with the brush. They do apply the best with the finger, but unless you're going to do like the whole swatch of on your eyelid. That's why I do prefer, in general, I do prefer loose pigment. When it comes to brow bone, I will use Austral Aura and Austral Pink. They are like super intense. I can see small glitters, and I am really precise when it comes to application of this area right here. So it starts from somewhere from here, from nothing, and then this is the main area where this is being emphasized. I would prefer this for my inner corner as well. You guys, I have an update and it is not a good one. Blitz Crimszon Ecstazy failed me. You know what happened? So I went, not like this, I was just finishing off my eye. So I went out for a lunch, and in the meantime, it's been a couple of hours. In the meantime, I realized that unfortunately our main shade started to collect in, like it started to crease on my lid. I don't know if you can tell. So once I finished this side, this one was without NYX glitter primer, and for whatever reason, maybe, just maybe it's because I didn't have Inglater's base underneath, it looked a bit better than this one, you know, with the primer, which was, I was surprised, you know. That's not initially what I thought is gonna happen, but I realized that this shade is not going to stand the test of the time, unfortunately. I do like overall look, but I don't think like I'm gonna use this shade again. What you can do with a shade is to apply it on your lower lash line. That way you can be kind of secure. It's not going to move as much as when it's all across your lid, like what I've done today. So unfortunately, let me see if I can, well, if I can do anything with it. I'm so disappointed. I really hoped this is going to work. No, just gonna make it worse. In the meantime, I did put some eyelashes, and I will go with Inglater's eyeliner again. As you can see, I am wearing contact lenses, and I will post the link in the description. So if you are interested, these lenses are from a company called Miss Lens. I really do love, especially this shade out of them all that I've tried. And I really thought, especially for today's look, this shade of the contact lenses will complement this look, which it really does. Like, it really makes this eye look pop even more. This is not your classic smoky eye. It is smoked, but technically it's not smoky eyes, which at this point it doesn't matter. Like, I'm even thinking, should I go with this main shade on my lower lash line? First thing I'm going to do, I am applying Pat's eyeshadow primer, and I'm gonna go again with the Inglater's MC Gel eyeliner, also in my waterline. And this does look really intense, but I love it. By the way, eyelashes that I'm wearing are Ardell's Naked Lashes in style 421, the best eyelashes. If you are a makeup artist, do yourself a favor and buy a bunch of these, because you can customize it, and it's incredible how many eye shapes they can suit. So it's a great price and it's great quality, and they do look stunning. I don't know, so many lashes that I've tried, and I always come back to this one. So next, underneath this gel, I will go with this shade right here. Not that much. Take off the excess and slowly trying to blend this. And I have to say, this shade really nicely blends with the black. If it's easier for you, you can of course use an eyeshadow, black eyeshadow, and then combine it with this. But just for the review purposes, I did try to use eyeshadows only from this palette. Of course, I can combine these eyeshadows with so many others, but yeah, for today's purpose, I decided just to go with the eyeliner, everything else to be eyeshadows from SUNLIT. And I will also add just a tiny bit, just a pinch of the shade that we already have in our inner corner. Try to blend that because you can see how intense this one is. All I can see on the camera is just my eyes. It's so dramatic, but I love it. So I will finish off the rest of my face and I'll be right back with you with the final thoughts. This is final look. I am beyond sad that this shade right here did not stand test of the time. I was really hoping it's not gonna start creasing or fading. There is one thing with the Pat Mcgrath products, some of them, they do have glitters in it or they have different dimension like a multi-chrome. Just give me a second. Her multi-dimensional product, they look stunning. Unfortunately, they shift beautifully, but the thing is, once they are on my eyelid, you can see texture. It emphasizes texture of my skin so much that that's something that is unflattering, and that is unfortunately what is happening with this Blitz Crimszon Ecstazy in this palette. That's why I prefer some other indie brands, especially in a loose formulation over this one. When they hit your eyelid, they just make beautiful transition. They don't emphasize your texture and it looks amazing. This, however, looks beautiful, but on the skin is just, it is what it is. I just hope she's gonna come up with a different formula. When it comes to these different special shades, that is not the case that much emphasized as with this red one, I would say. Like, you can still see the texture, but it's not that harsh as with this one. This special shades, however, they look stunning on the area right here underneath my eyebrow. I'll say that is beyond beautiful, and the way it shifts. Please let me know in the comment section down below. Have you tried this Blitz Crimszon Ecstazy shade? Is there any other way that you manage to apply it? But not just apply it, but to make it last longer, because I'm having this one for 5 or 6 hours, and after a couple of hours it started to crease on a certain spot, and that's something that made me really sad. In general, I love this look. I think it's beautiful. I wanted to put that shade as well on my lower lash line. I did not. The reason for that is because black eyeliner with this matte shade right here looks gorgeous. It looks stunning, especially if you're having blue eyes. Even on my brown eyes, this looks nice, but just because of the contrast, I wanted to pop up some contact lenses just to make a big difference. In case you missed first SUNLIT Seduction review video and the whole makeup tutorial, I will leave that video right here so you can watch that one as well. Please let me know your thoughts when it comes to this palette, and I will see you in my next one. Thank you guys so much for watching and see you soon. Bye!